Hare Krishna. So we will start the Sunday Feast class. Welcome to everyone for joining us in the Sunday Feast of the ISKCON Portland, the residence of Sri Srinitai Satchidanandev Bhagwan. So before we get started, let us recite the Mangalacharan prayers so that we can get the auspiciousness and mercy of the previous acharyas to understand the Bhagavad-Gita better. So these prayers are given in the introduction chapter of the Bhagavad-Gita. I will share the screen here. Are you able to see the screen?
You just do, yeah, can see it.
Okay. So, introduction to the Bhagavad Gita, there are these Mangalacharan prayers. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha. Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam. Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam. Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitamscha. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Nitinamni. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. He Krishna Karuna Sindho Deenabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute. Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriye. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shrivas Adi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So today's verse is 11.36. This is from the chapter of the universal form. And I did not know this. I did not realize this actually, that this is a very important verse for multiple reasons. This is the beginning of the prayers by Arjuna after he sees the universal form of Lord Shri Krishna in the 11th chapter of Bhagavad-Gita. And I was, as some of you may know, we are doing a whole series on the glories of the holy name from last several weeks, where we covered the pastime of Ajamil. And now we are going through the 10 offenses to the holy name. And in one of the Acharya's literatures, I forget which one it is, all the compilations of the glories of the holy name from various Puranas are given. And from Bhagavad-Gita, there are several or few references, not several. And I remember there are two very important references from Bhagavad-Gita, which I at least have at least recognition of. I don't know if I have the realization, but at least the recognition that they exist. One is the Satatam Kirtayanto Mam Ye Jana Parupasate. So always engaged in chanting my glories. That is 9.14. And then Kathayantascha Mam Nityam, 10.9. But there is another verse that was quoted, and I never paid such good attention to it, which is 11.36. So let's read that verse and then we will discuss. So chapter 11, the universal form, verse number 36. So these are the beginning of Arjuna's prayers. And the first thing he mentions is the glory of the Supreme Lord through his name. So the verse goes like this. Arjuna uvacha sthane rishikesha tava prakirtya jagat prahishyati anurajyate cha rakshamsi bhitani disho dravanti sarve namasyanti cha siddha singha. So once again I will repeat, and I will request some of the devotees to recite as well. Sthane rishikesha tava prakirtya jagat prahishyati anurajyate cha rakshamsi bhitani disho dravanti sarve namasyanti cha siddha sanghaha. One more time. Sthane rishikesha tava prakirtya jagat prahishyati anurajyate cha rakshamsi bhitani disho dravanti sarve namasyanti cha siddha sanghaha. Would anybody like to recite this verse? Okay, so we will proceed with the word by word translation. Arjuna uvacha. Arjuna said, Sthane, rightly, Rishikesha, O master of all senses, Tava, your, Prakirtya, by the glories, Jagat, the entire world, Prahishyati is rejoicing, Anurajyate is becoming attached, Cha, and Rakshamsi, the demons, Bhitani, out of fear, Dishah, in all directions, Dravanti, are fleeing, Sarve, all, Namasyanti, are offering respects, Cha, also, Siddha Sangha, the perfect human beings. So the translation by Srila Prabhupada is, Arjuna said, O master of the senses, the world becomes joyful upon hearing your name, and thus everyone becomes attached to you. Although the perfected beings offer you their respectful homage, the demons are afraid and they flee here and there. All this is rightly done. So very, very beautiful and important verse. Arjuna, after seeing the universal form and seeing both devotees as well as demons in that universal form, he prays to Lord Krishna in this way. Sthane Rishikesha Tava Prakirtya. So Prakirtya is the Kirtana, or the Kirtya means the glory, Kirti. And the act of glorification is known as Kirtana. So here the act of glorification is prakirtya, is being mentioned. So tava prakirtya, or Rishikesha tava prakirtya. So the glorification of Rishikesha or Lord Krishna. So on hearing your glories, what is happening? So on hearing the glories, now glories are meant to be heard. Of course, glories can be seen also, but glories are primarily meant to be heard. On the battlefield, Arjuna was the only one who could see the universal form, and perhaps Sanjaya also. Now, we cannot see the universal form, but we can hear about it from the descriptions of Arjuna and Sanjaya. So we are hearing about the glories. Similarly, through the Srimad Bhagavatam, Parikshit Maharaj could only hear of the glories. He never was able to see Krishna except for when he was in the womb. And Lord Krishna saved him from the Brahmastra of Ashwatthama. But he heard all the glories. The full 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, he heard from Shukadev Goswami. So glories are meant to be heard. So on hearing the glories of Rishikesha, what is happening? Jagat prahishyati, the entire world, Jagat prahishyati. Hrishyati is to become happy. And anurajyate cha, and becoming attached to the holy name. So devotees are becoming, or everybody is becoming happy and becoming attached to the holy name. The demons who despise the holy name, what is happening to them? Rakshamsi bhitani, out of fear, disho dravanti, they are just dravanti, they are running away. Disho, all the directions, here and there, they are running away. But what are the siddhas doing? Siddha sangha, the assembly or all the groups of the siddhas, the devotees, what are they doing? Sarve namasyanti. So they are offering their obeisances, they are offering their pranam to Rishikesha on hearing the glories. So that is the meaning of this verse. So if you see, this whole verse is surrounding or is all about hearing the glories of Rishikesha and what happens to various classes or categories of people when they hear the holy name. So first thing, so there are three categories mentioned. The first category is the entire universe, Jagat. So whether you know it or not, the soul becomes happy on hearing the holy name. The second category is Rakshasas. They cannot appreciate the holy name, and in fact, they have a repulsion for the holy name, so they cannot tolerate it and they run away. And then the third category is the devotees who are attached to the holy name or who are very favorable to the holy name, and they are offering respects and obeisances to Lord Krishna. So these are the three categories of people and their reactions or the influence of the holy name. And the glories of Lord Krishna is mentioned in the three lines, the three bottom lines. But the top line basically is mentioning that the holy name is causing all these three effects in the next three lines. So this verse is all about the glory of the holy name of Lord. So we will read the purport by His Divine Grace, Abhay Charanarvinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Purport. Would anybody like to read the purport? I don't know if devotees have permission to unmute, but I will read then.
Yes, Prabhu. You can unmute, Prabhu.
Do you want me to read, Prabhu?
Yes, if you can read, that will be nice. Otherwise,
The purport, Prabhu, is it right?
yes, purport.
Okay, sure, Prabhu. Arjuna, after hearing from Krishna about the outcome of the battle of Kurukshetra, became enlightened. And as a great devotee and friend of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he said that everything done by Krishna is quite fit. Arjuna confirmed that Krishna is the maintainer and the object of worship for the devotees and the destroyer of the undesirables. His actions are equally good for all. Arjuna understood herein that when the battle of Kurukshetra was being concluded, in outer space there were present many demigods, siddhas, and the intelligentsia of the higher planets. And they were observing the fight because Krishna was present there. When Arjuna saw the universal form of the Lord, the demigods took pleasure in it. But others, who were demons and atheists, could not stand it when the Lord was praised. Out of their natural fear of the devastating form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, they fled. Krishna's treatment of the devotees and the atheist is praised by Arjuna. In all cases, a devotee glorifies the Lord because he knows that whatever he does is good for all. Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you, Hare Krishna. Thank you so much. So, looks like Rasraj was also reading in his own language. So that's nice. So, here, as Srila Prabhupada is describing, that what happens to various categories of people on hearing the glories. And mainly, we don't need to worry about what happens to the demons, but for the devotees or the practicing or aspiring devotees, hearing the holy name of the Lord is very, very not only pleasurable, it is pleasurable for the advanced devotees who have developed the taste, the anuraga, anurajyate, means the attachment to the holy name. But for practicing devotees, it is essential. It is like a medicine that we must take for curing our disease of asat trishna. Our primary disease is called asat trishna, or the trishna means the very strong attachment to material sense gratification, which is asat. Anything that is not connected with the Supreme Lord is asat. Anything that is connected with the Supreme Lord is sat. So asat trishna is the disease that we are suffering from, and we are actually suffering from that. In many cases, we know that we are suffering. Many people can realize that we are suffering. Some lucky, so to say, in the material world, materialistically lucky people may not realize today that they are not suffering, but very soon the suffering comes. And this is very evident even in our own lives, where when we are suffering, we make a lot of plans, we make a lot of commitments to move towards a situation where we don't suffer. But when we become better, we forget all those commitments. Like when one is sick, then one says, oh, I'm not going to eat all the nonsense things. I'm going to give it up. That's the reason I became sick. But when you become well, when the disease is cured, then you forget all that, and again you go and eat all the things that caused the sickness. So that is our asat trishna, our attachment to sense gratification that makes us forget. So in the same way, some people may be temporarily undergoing the phase of material happiness, and they have forgotten all the commitments and promises they might have made in the past. And many people are undergoing misery, and they are trying to resolve that, come out of that through various means. So all our misery, and including our asat trishna, and now we are going a little bit into the theory of what causes us to be attached to asat. The attachment to asat comes from our very sort of a long conditioning of association with asat. And sometime in the past, we committed some small sinful activity. And then we did not atone for it. We did not resolve it. We did not get rid of the reactions immediately. And that began building up. And it is also said that over lifetimes, if we don't resolve it, it multiplies exponentially. So, for example, if you did something wrong, I don't want to give any gross examples in this life, and we don't atone for it in this life, the next life, we have to atone for it twice. That if we don't atone for it in the next life, the next to next life, it becomes even more multiplied. I don't know the mathematical formula. There is no such formula that is given either but it's not important. The important message here is to resolve it as soon as possible. Otherwise, it multiplies. How much it multiplies, that we can, if we are going in that direction, then we are already lost. So there are so many sinful activities that one is committing in this material world. This material world is a place by design where we cannot live without committing sinful activities, or activities that create reactions, that creates fruits, and then we have to accept those fruits, and which creates binding. This we have all understood and read from the previous chapters, 3rd, 4th, and 5th chapters of Bhagavad-Gita, that all actions create reactions which bind us. And we keep getting bound and bound and bound. There is no way that we can live without getting bound. So it is more or less like a quicksand situation. Once we are in the quicksand, we are going down in it. We are getting more and more and more embedded, or going deeper and deeper into the quicksand. So through our means, there are 2 ways that are mentioned in the Shastra that one can try to nullify some of these reactions. The first way is through prayashchita. Through prayashchita, we can, or by atonement, one can try to resolve some reactions that we have. But that is like we have a $1 million debt, and then we work hard for 12 hours to pay off $100. Another day, we work very hard to pay off another $100. How many days can you work hard and keep paying off $100, $100, $100 when the debt is $1 million, and very soon it multiplies and becomes 2 million? So basically, this process of atonement is extremely slow and futile. And the biggest problem that Shukdev Goswami mentions, and Parikshit Maharaj also mentions, is that this atonement process eliminates some sinful reaction, but it does not eliminate the desire to commit more sin. So you work very hard and you pay off $100 of your debt. But because you worked so hard, you feel like, oh, now I have worked so hard, I need some sense gratification. And you go and you accumulate another $200 debt on your credit card. So what was the point of paying off 100 and then immediately going and accumulating back 200? Now you are minus 100. You have gone down 100 rather than coming up. Shukdev Goswami gives this beautiful example of an elephant. Elephant goes into the river and takes a bath, thinks that it is very clean. The moment it comes out of the river, it thinks it is, I'm so clean and now I can afford to become little dirty. It will sprinkle all the dirt on itself. So that operation of cleaning itself lasted for a very, very short time. So this is the problem with atonement, and therefore it is completely useless. It may provide some small temporary relief. You earned $100 and you paid it off. For a few moments, you felt, I have little less debt. But immediately you go and sink more into debt. So very little relief, very moments of relief may be there. But that is, as one who can look at a big picture will realize, it is completely futile, completely useless. Those who are unable to look at the big picture will feel that, yes, no problem, let us derive joy from it. The second process which is mentioned by Shukadeva Goswami is that of vidya. To eliminate this ignorance, there is vidya, or the source of removing ignorance is, or darkness is light, which is vidya. So that is correct. When one is aware that what am I doing? I am just going deeper, sinking deeper and deeper into debt. I should stop doing this. So that awareness is there, that knowledge is there. But our conditioning is so strong that when the conditions are very tempting and provoking, that knowledge we forget. Our desire for sense gratification overcomes the knowledge, and we go and again do actions that create further sinful reactions. So that is the problem with knowledge. It only provides awareness, it does not provide engagement. This is the root cause of this is the main flaw with just knowledge. It provides awareness, but not engagement. And the final solution to this, as mentioned by Sri Shukadeva Goswami, is bhakti. By bhakti, we not only get knowledge, we get engagement. And through engagement in bhakti, we remain engaged. There is no temptation or whatever the provocation may be. When one is completely engaged with awareness in service or in devotion to Lord Krishna, then the effect of these provocations is completely minimized or completely eliminated. So engagement in bhakti, which comes with knowledge or knowledge given by Krishna, dadami buddhi yogam tam. So Krishna gives the knowledge and engages us in bhakti. That is the only solution. Otherwise, there is no hope, absolutely no hope. There may be temporary ups, but the graph is, on the long term, the graph is going down. There may be temporary spikes or temporary movement upwards, but in general, it is just going downwards and downwards and downwards. So, very beautifully, it is described in the pastime of Ajamila that as we are committing these sinful reactions, or as we are committing these actions which produce these fruits, it is not that we are committing these actions out of our desire to oppress someone, or to, many people don't commit sinful reactions due to some kind of a oppressive desire that they derive enjoyment by oppressing or by hurting, harming other living entities. That is usually not the case. The situation is that one wants to obtain or enjoy the resources provided by Lord Krishna more than what is allocated to him. So that is at a material level, a root problem. This is described very nicely in the first verse of Sri Ishopanishad. So I just want to open that and read that verse. So we will go to Sri Ishopanishad and we'll go to the first verse. Isha Vashyam idam sarvam yat kincha jagatayam jagat. So everything animate or inanimate that is within the universe is controlled and owned by the Lord. One should therefore accept only those things necessary for himself, which are set aside as his quota, and one should not accept other things, knowing well to whom they belong. So the main problem is that we are not living according to the dharma. This is the one of the very, very important clauses of dharma. By doing this, one will not go to the Supreme Lord. This in itself is not bhakti, but this is the root or the beginning of the downfall of a living entity. That when one tries to enjoy the property of the Lord beyond his quota, the Father is very merciful. He has allotted a quota to all his children. Even though they want to stay separate from Lord Krishna, still he has given them enough resources so that they can enjoy at their level without encroaching upon the property allocated, Krishna's property or the father's property, to his other children. But the problem starts when one begins to encroach for his own sense gratification more than his quota, not because he wants to harm or oppress another living entity, but because of his own sense enjoyment. And when you encroach on someone's other's quota, you are automatically harming them or hurting their interests. And like this, from one step, one small step, it starts. And then we keep going deeper and deeper and deeper. And that propensity to enjoy never ends. So this is the sort of the starting point of the problem that one gets into. And then all the actions that one is doing, every single action becomes binding, takes one deeper and deeper and deeper into sinful reactions, and one gets bound. And one may think that, okay, nobody is watching me, or this is lying alone, this property. What is the problem if I take it? I don't see any other rightful owner or any other rightful entity claiming this. So let me take it. One may think like that. One may think that I have so many opulences around me. In this world, we see, you go to the store, there are so many opulent things. One may think, yes, I have earned the money through my hard work. Let me enjoy. How is it that I'm encroaching on someone else's quota? This goes into a much deeper aspect of what it means to have opulence. The opulence that we may be experiencing around us is always, there is a hidden living entity who is paying the price for it. I don't want to go into a sort of a global economics discussion, but there are so many people who are underpaid. There are so many other places from where the resources are obtained, which are not compensated for appropriately. And here we see just the opulence around us. A very small example I will give is that of meat eating. One can say that meat is nicely packed and packaged in a steel or a aluminum container in a can. I just have to buy a can and open it and eat it. But behind that, what is not visible to us is all the slaughtering of the animals, etc., that is occurring. And that is direct encroachment on their property, on their life, on their body. Body is the primary property that we have been given. And there is a saying by somebody, I think it was the CEO of Citibank or somebody who was a very big promoter of vegetarianism, I think it was him who said that if the slaughterhouses were made of glass, the whole world would become vegetarian. So because we don't see what is going on behind the curtain, that is why we realize what is the problem. Everything could be our quota. I have earned it, so I can enjoy. A whatever box of meat may cost $3, but somebody had to pay with its life. You cannot assign a $3 cost to somebody's life. And like this, there are many, many things, even simple products that we purchase. Somebody has paid more than they were compensated to get that in our hands. And this is a longer discussion on how the sort of the first world versus third world economies work. But anyway, I just wanted to highlight that the problem is that we are intentionally or unintentionally, whether we like it, want it or not, the whole system has been set up that we have to perform these actions, and the reactions are automatically being handed over to us, whether we like it or not. That is the point I am making. And because these reactions are being handed over to us, just because the whole world is operating in a given system, and it is not possible for one man or a small group of devotees to change the whole system, then what is the solution? Then we can say that there is no solution. We are just, helpless. Of course, Srila Prabhupada wanted this solution of self-sustained farm communities and so on to solve this problem, that one is completely self-sustained. One does not need anything else, external resources that is given by the so-called system. So one is shielded from the sinful reactions. But for many, many people, this is not possible. So what is the solution? And the solution that is given, a very simple, straightforward, and powerful solution, is the chanting of the holy name. And that is the focus of today's discussion. And in the Bhagavatam, in the pastime of Ajamil, the Vishnu Dutas mention how powerful the chanting of the holy name is. And that is the permanent solution that does not suffer from the pitfalls or the drawbacks of the other two solutions of atonement or prayashchitta and awareness of the consequences or vidya or knowledge. And this solution of chanting the holy name is so powerful that it not only atones, or it not only eliminates the sinful reactions of one time, not even of one life, but many, many past lives. And not only that, it needs to be chanted, the chanting of the holy name does not even need to be done in the most proper way. Even if done in an improper way, inattentive way, and so many other concessions are given by the Vishnu Dutas that one can completely eliminate lifetimes and lifetimes of sinful reactions by taking the holy name. That is the power of the holy name. Now, one should be careful to not take the holy name as a formula for committing sinful actions, that you commit sinful actions in the morning and you come back and take the holy name in the evening to atone for those sins or to eliminate those sins, and next day do that again. So that is called offense-full chanting of the holy name. Then one is chanting with offense, and the effect of the holy name diminishes severely. So one can take the holy name of the Lord in an inattentive way, in an unaware way. One is not aware of the power, but one should not misuse or abuse the holy name. So there is a difference between these two mechanisms. And Shukdev Goswami describes that Ajamil, who took the name of Lord Narayana, which happened to be the name of his son. So he was inattentive, but he took it in a non-offensive way. There was nothing that he desired when he was taking the name of Narayana. He did not take the name of his son so that his son or the name will come and save him from impending death. He did not take the name to be saved. He did not take the name so that he had any kind of desire to go to heaven. He just took the name out of helplessness, out of vivashata. He was feeling very helpless, and the only thing that came to his mind was the name of his son, and he just called it out, just as a matter of fact. And that stage of chanting, Acharyas described, is known as the Nama Abhasa stage. It wasn't pure chanting, it wasn't Shuddha Nama, but it was not at the stage of Nam Aparadh either. So it was at this middle stage. And because he chanted just once in this Nam Abhas stage, immediately the Vishnu Dutas arrived. So that is the power of chanting the holy name in the Nam Abhas stage. However, we are in the last line of that pastime in chapter 3, last line. I think it is the 61st or 63rd verse or 51st verse, I can't remember, but the last one, Shukadev Goswami says that, therefore, imagine the benefit of chanting the holy name throughout one's life, not just at the end, not just at one time, but throughout. And the reason is that we are all, or at least I am, chanting the holy name at the Nam Aparadh stage. And at the Nam Aparadh stage, the effects are much diminished. So we should quickly try to come to a level of chanting the holy name without offenses. May not be with pure love of God. Nowhere in the 10 offenses to the holy name does it say that one must chant the holy name with full love for the Lord. That is not mentioned as an offense. So not chanting with love for the Lord is okay, but at least one should not commit offenses while chanting the holy name. And when one is able to take the name of the Lord in that way, then one can completely get rid of the sinful reactions that one has accumulated. And then the next level, one can go to the next level, which is to chant the name of the Lord, take the name of the Lord with love. And that is when one can associate directly with the Lord. Removing the sinful reactions is just a byproduct. At that point, one gets something far, far, far more valuable, more precious, which is association or the shelter of the Lord himself. And that is, or the love of Krishna, the stage of prema, the stage of pure love, a loving relationship, reciprocation, one's reciprocation with Krishna and Krishna's reciprocation with the devotee. That happens at the stage of Shuddha Nama. So one comes on the path of Shuddha Nama through this process of taking the holy name. So that is, in summary, what is described in the Srimad Bhagavatam on the glories of the holy name of the Lord. So we, as I was describing, we are going through the 10 offenses of the holy name, and there are some offenses which are much, much more serious than the other offenses. And while while practicing to take the holy name of the Lord, one should focus first on the offenses that are more important, more critical, and one is committing on a more frequent basis. So it behooves all of us to not just focus on the chanting of the holy name, but go through the list of the 10 offenses. In the Padma Purana, the 10 offenses have been mentioned, and one should not just know them, but do some contemplation. Which are the offenses that I am doing more than the others? And start working on them. The first offense is blaspheming those who are engaged in propagating the holy name of the Lord. Or in other words, it is the Vaishnava aparadh, because all Vaishnavas, whether we may know or not know, are engaged in propagating the holy name of the Lord, either by their words or by their acharana, by their actions. Devotees of the Lord are always engaged in glorifying the Lord, whether others may see it that way or not. Just by being a Vaishnava, they are glorifying or propagating the glories of the Supreme Lord. So the first offense is Vaishnava aparadh. We were discussing yesterday the third offense, which is diminishing the position of a guru, or as Srila Prabhupada translates it, ignoring or not following the instructions of the spiritual master. So one should go through the list of the various offenses and see which one am I doing more, and start working on those. And that working needs to happen not only when we are chanting, but mainly it needs to happen when we are not chanting, throughout the day. The seventh offense, for example, is committing sinful activities on the strength of the holy name of the Lord. So during the day, what are we doing? Are we doing any sinful activities knowingly or not? And are we thinking that, yes, the Lord is looking and he will forgive me? I am trying to do some service to the Lord by chanting, by doing some bhakti. If I'm doing this sinful activity knowingly, the Lord will perhaps overlook. That may fall in the seventh category of the offense. That is, one is committing sinful activities on strength of chanting the holy name of the Lord. So like this, we should go through all the 10 offenses, very clearly try to see where we may be committing offenses and try to remove those. Take an offense a week. Say, this week, I'm just going to focus on this one. Make it a goal. Put it on your wallpaper of the computer, or, whatever, way of reminding yourself. And when one is, not chanting the name, one should focus on not committing those offenses. So that way one can chant the name of the Lord 24 hours a day by actual chanting, and at other times by eliminating the offenses, so that the next chanting will be slightly less offenseful. So this is something that I have read. Of course, I am myself not putting into much practice, but at least I can share what I have understood from previous acharyas and from senior devotees. So let us see if there are any questions or comments or corrections to anything that we said or discussed. Anything? Are devotees able to unmute or hear, or are we still online?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Okay. So if not, then I thought we can read the 10 offenses to the holy name. and we can use this time to contemplate on what are these 10 offenses. So I'm going to share the screen. Yeah. So the first one is to blaspheme the devotees who have dedicated their lives to propagating the holy name of the Lord. This is a very, very serious offense of Vaishnava aparadha. So blaspheming or criticizing devotees. And acharyas have mentioned that we should never criticize devotees for something they may have done in the past. For example, many of the very, very senior devotees that Srila Prabhupada has as very senior disciples, in the past, they were doing all kinds of things when they were hippies or whatever. One should never blaspheme devotees who have now taken to fully devotional lives, but for something they may have done in the past. That is one of the ways in which one may unknowingly commit a very serious offense against the Vaishnavas. And there are other ways also. The second one is to diminish the power of the position of the holy name. To consider the names of demigods like Lord Shiva or Lord Brahma to be equal to or independent of the name of Lord Vishnu. So here there are two ways in which to look at this. To consider the name of demigods like Shiva or Brahma, to consider this name to be equal to the name of Lord Vishnu. That is not equal, because the name of Lord Vishnu is the same as Vishnu, but the name of Lord Shiva is not the same as Lord Shiva. So if we consider those two to be of the similar nature, then we may be saying that the name of Lord Vishnu is not the same as Lord Vishnu himself. That is a great offense to the holy name. One is diminishing the position of the holy name by saying that you, the holy name, or Nama Prabhu, the holy name personified, is different from Lord Vishnu. That is an offense to the holy name itself. One is diminishing the position of the holy name by thinking in this way. Then the third one is to disobey the orders of the spiritual master. And this happens due to multiple reasons, because we may consider one of the reasons is one considers the spiritual master to be an ordinary person, a person who has faults or flaws. One should never consider a spiritual master as an ordinary person who is subject to the flaws of human nature. So when we bring down the guru to the position of a jiva or an ordinary living entity, that is when we come up with some a propensity to blaspheme or to ignore or to disrespect or disobey the spiritual master. So one should consider who is the spiritual master, what is he giving us, and why should he be considered not at the level of a jiva. He is higher than the position of a jiva. That is why there is a difference between a guru tattva, and jiva tattva. So this is a complex topic, but from our standpoint, we should not consider guru to be a mere living entity. To blaspheme the Vedic scriptures or scriptures in the pursuance to the Vedic version. So considering the scriptures to be just words that are written by some faulty or flawful human beings. So if the scriptures are written by somebody who himself is flawed, then what faith we can have on the scriptures? But all the scriptures that are coming to us are coming directly from Krishna. through, of course, the hands of perfect human beings, the acharyas, through the Guru Parampara. So, not considering the Vedic scriptures to be coming from Krishna, but from some flawful human beings, is a aparadh as well, because the knowledge that we get that the holy name is so powerful is from the Vedic scriptures. The Vedic scriptures tell us that the holy name is powerful. Where do we learn that? For example, we learned it from the pastime of Ajamil, the power of holy name. And pastime of Ajamil is present where? In the Bhagavatam. And Bhagavatam is a Vedic scripture. Now, if we have no faith in the Vedic scripture, how do we know that the holy name is so powerful? So the complete basis of the holy name itself is through the scriptures, and therefore the scriptures have to be held at the topmost position. Then to consider the chanting, the glories of the chanting to be, of Hare Krishna, to be an imagination. This is, some kind of a, putting some kind of a imaginary understanding, or putting some kind of a faithless understanding of the glories of the holy name. That yes, it has some benefit, but it's not as glorious as it claims to be, or as the scriptures claim to be. The sixth one is to give some interpretation to the holy name of the Lord. So to give various kinds of interpretations, that it can atone for sins, or the holy name of the Lord means various aspects of the Lord, but it does not have the same power as the Lord himself. The seventh one is a very serious one, which is to commit sinful activities on the strength of the holy name. We talked about this earlier. Then the eighth one is to consider the chanting of Hare Krishna as one of the auspicious ritualistic activities which are offered in the Vedas. So considering the eighth offense is to consider it to be a process for atonement. So it is in that sense similar to number 7, that yes, this is a process for atonement. All it does is that it removes our sinful reactions, but it does not have the strength to give us love of Krishna, or to even ignore that it has anything to do with love of Krishna. It is just a tool for ritualistic activities. It is just a process of ritualistic activity, and it keeps us, it is at a material level. It has no spiritual connection. So that is the 8th offense. The 9th offense is to instruct a faithless person about the glories of the holy name. So it is not about, I was for a long time confused by this one. Then I talked to one very senior devotee, and they clarified for me. It is not about instructing a faithless person about bhakti, but it is about instructing the faithless person about the glories of the holy name. When we go into the depth of the power and glory of the holy name, that person may not be ready to accept that level of understanding, and he may reject it, or he may say, no, I don't believe it. Holy name doesn't have that much power. And all these things he may say, which are offensive and will cause problems for that person. So to benefit that person, to not have him cause this offense, don't talk about the glories of the holy name. Start from beginning. Start from the stage that one is committing these various sinful activities, and there are going to be consequences. Through the process of karma yoga, then jnana yoga, one can slowly come to the point of bhakti. To a person who is completely faithless, this approach can be followed. Otherwise, they might commit offenses. And the 10th one, this is another very serious one, to not have complete faith in the chanting of the holy name. That yes, our Guru has said, Srila Prabhupada has said, we have to do it, but that full faith is not there. Why am I doing it? What is the need to chant the holy name? For eliminating this offense, there needs to be very deep and focused reading of the Srimad Bhagavatam and other various scriptures. Constantly one needs to hear and read, gain the vidya about bhakti, not just vidya about the Sankhya Vidya, but the Vidya about bhakti. The more and more one engages in this, the more one is inspired to chant the holy name with faith, with feeling, with attachment. So one should focus on all these offenses, take some offense that one is committing and try to reduce that. And in that way, one can make one's chanting better. So we are over time. I will stop here. And if there are any comments or questions, please let me know. Otherwise, I think we can end here. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranams. Jai Srila Prabhupada. Thank you for your class. I appreciate your analytical approaches, but more than anything, I appreciate how sometimes we have an idea that the Bhagavad-Gita is a very elementary text. It's the beginning of spiritual life, but how you connected it to kind of the culmination of spiritual life and the heights of what the holy name can do within the heart of a devotee. I very much appreciate that. So thank you for connecting that verse to the importance of chanting, purely in all the stages that come from that, and by connecting it to the Yuga Dharma. So thank you.
Thank you, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Okay, thank you. I think we can turn it over to the Aarti of the Lord. That's the next step or next event.
Thank you so much for your wonderful class. Continuation of what you've been doing, week after week, with the grace of the holy name. Thank you so much for as Nanda mentioned, extracting the importance and highlighting the holy name, the holy importance of holy name from Bhagavad-Gita itself. So thank you so much for the wonderful class.
Thank you.
I'll share my screen to sing today's. Okay, it's on schedule. We don't have anyone signed up for today. Would anyone like to sing with Aarti today? Vibhan, Ram, Shivani, Subbu. Anyone would like to sing today for the Aarti?
Yeah, Prabhuji, I can sing.
Thank you so much. If you can start whenever you're ready, you can start. You're on mute, Shivani, if you're singing. Thank you.
Hare Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Shubhani, thank you so much for singing so beautifully. Thank you so much. Would anyone like to sing Narasimha Stuti? Would you like to sing?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, I can sing if that's okay.
Please go ahead, Prabhu.
Okay. Namaste Narasimhaya. Namaste Narasimhaya. Prahlada Dadai. Prahlada Dadai. Hiranyakashi Purvaksha. Hiranyakashi Purvaksha. Shilatamkana Kalaye. Shilatamkana Kalaye. Ito Nisimha Parato Nisimho. Ito Nisimha Parato Nisimho. Yato Yato Yami Tato Nisimho. Yato Yato Yami Tato Nisimho. Bahir Nisimho Hridaye Nisimho. Bahir Nisimho Hridaye Nisimho. Bahir Nisimho Hridaye Nisimho. Narasimhamadim Sharanam Prapadye. Narasimhamadim Sharanam Prapadye. Tavakara Kamala Varenakam Adbhuta Shingam Kalita Hiranyakashipu Tanubringam Keshavadrita Narahari Rupa Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare Tavakara Kamala Varenakam Adbhuta Shingam Kalita Hiranyakashipu Tanubringam Keshavadrita Narahari Rupa Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare Jaya Nrsimhadev 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 Jai Nrsimhadev Jaya Bhakta Prahlad Bhakta Prahlad Bhakta Prahlad Jaya Bhakta Prahlad Jaya Prabhupada 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 Srila Prabhupada Shingadev Bhagavan Ki Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Thank you, Shubham. Thank you so much. Okay, so thank you so much everyone for joining. There are announcements to make. We can compare it for today. So much everyone for joining.